Welcome back. I want to talk again about pratyahara and heart rate variability because this is the crux of the issue. If you've been meditating for a while, if you've been in the yoga world, you know that pratyahara is everything. And without that step, the rest of the meditation is going to be a bust. It might be a valiant effort, it might be a wonderful step on your journey, but without pratyahara, we're not going to hit those deep states, and we want to get into pratyahara every single time we meditate. Does that sound exciting? I hope so, because it should. We want to make meditation repeatable. That's why yoga. That's why. Yoga science of your body makes deep meditation repeatable. And that's exciting. That's really exciting. So first of all, let's talk about heart rate variability. What is it? How do you get into it? Heart rate variability is based off of the understanding of respiratory sinus arrhythmia. Now this concept's not new, it's been around since the 1800s. Carl Ludwig figured this out, and it's the simple and basic understanding that when we breathe in, the baroreceptor in the archway of the heart, so here's the heart, and above the heart there's a valve, and in the arch of that valve there's something called a baroreceptor. And it's a sensor, like a sensor in your car. It's a sensor on your heart, and it lets you know if there's too much pressure or not enough pressure in the veins to keep the system going. So as we breathe in, there's less pressure in the cavity because the diaphragm goes down, the lungs open up, the veins become slack so that more blood can flow between the heart and the lungs, and that lessening pressure stimulates the baroreceptor, which tells the heart to pump faster. And the reason your body wants to do this is so that while there's air in your lungs, it can pump that oxygen exchange faster and better. So there's work to be done, so that's when the heart is going to pump the fastest. When the breath goes out, the diaphragm comes up, and as it does that, there is increased pressure in the thoracic cavity, and that pressure silences the baroreceptor or minimizes it. And that sends less signal to the heart, which allows the dorsal vagal nerve to respond by putting a brake on the heart. So the dorsal vagal nerve starts working, it puts a brake on the heart, and the heart rate goes down while there's more pressure and the air is out. So what does that mean for heart rate variability? It means that breath comes in, heart rate goes up. Breath goes out, heart rate goes down. So now we've got a nice sine wave going on between the breath and the heartbeat. So they start to follow one another, and that's a resonance between the breath and the heart rate. And that's what we want. That's an optimal system. It is flexible, going up and down, and not rigid. And nature loves flexibility because flexibility means survival. So this is a very, very natural process. It's not artificial. So we are getting back to sahaja, or simplicity, or the natural state. And that's so gorgeous, right? So to get into heart rate variability, we want to breathe in such a way that we can foster this resonance of the breath and the heartbeat so that we can get into not only the beginning stages of heart rate variability, but a very deep heart rate variability, which will, as the literature says, save heartbeats. So the guys that researched heart rate variability, to the end they hypothesized that this whole thing is a setup by nature to help us conserve energy and save heartbeats. So Dr. Gervitz, the one thing that he says is you've got to lower the breath rate. Now, you can just watch your breath, and if you watch your breath for 20 years, you're gonna lower it. It happens automatically. So if you want to go that route, that's okay, and a lot of meditators do that, and they don't want anybody telling them anything about how to get there quicker. And that's okay, I understand it. But for those of you who are interested in skipping 20 or 40 years, just go ahead and lower your breath rate to 7 breaths or less a minute. Now, if you lower it so far that you go into stress, well, that's the sympathetic system, isn't it? So you don't want that. You want to go under 7 breaths per minute in a comfortable, relaxed, and easy manner. You want to find the breath rate below 7 breaths a minute, which is right for you, and stick with that to begin with. And getting into that rhythm, which is correct for you, will allow you to take it a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper. That's the idea. So Dr. Gervitz says get your breath under 7 breaths per minute. That's the magic number, and he should know because he works with children all the time who have stomach issues, and this is his treatment for it, and it works. It works. For the kids who do it, it works every time. So he knows what he's talking about. That is the magic number. It's an easy number, it's a beginning number, it's not hard, and that means that heart rate variability is available to everyone. We already know it's nature's way of conserving energy. We know children can do it. We know anyone can do it. And that is really exciting because this makes yoga available to everyone. Because I want you to get into it and get into it deeply, and I'm here on YouTube, right? I want to guarantee your success, so I give you 2 more rules. And these are within the domain of Dr. Gervitz. They are within the domain of breath workers everywhere. They are simple, basic instructions, which are 1, like Dr. Gervitz says, lower the breath rate. 2, take out the pauses. And 3, make that out breath slightly longer. And now you can understand why you want to make that out breath slightly longer, because that's going to accentuate when the diaphragm is up and the baroreceptor is minimized, so it's not telling the heart to speed up. And the break of the dorsal vagal nerve, that's the nerve in the back of the spine, that break breaks the heart, slows it down to conserve energy. So what does all this have to do with yoga and meditation, right? Well, let's put it together. We are affecting the sympathetic and the parasympathetic systems. When we are in stress, that heart rate does not go up and down. It just remains flat. In fact, if your heartbeat never fluctuates, you're probably close to death, because any stress that comes on the system at any time could break the system, just break it right out. So we don't want that. That's not good. So we want a heart rate which has the ability to go up and down. So first of all, that's health, right? That's simple, straightforward health of your heart. But listen to what they're telling us. It saves heartbeats. It conserves energy, and it balances the sympathetic system and the parasympathetic. Breath comes in, heart rate goes up. That's a sympathetic reaction. Breath goes out, heart rate goes down. That's the parasympathetic system. And we just put them in balance. And what does yoga tell us? It says you have two main nerves, the ida and the pingala. One is cold, one is hot. Hatha yoga. Ha means sun. Tha means moon. These two nerves are the primary nerves that we deal with in yoga. And we balance these two systems in order to conserve energy. And when that happens, we say that there is a marriage between these two. Now that sounds a lot like the marriage of resonance between the breath and the heartbeat, right? So when those two get married, there's a name for it. It's called sandhya, and it means twilight, when the sun and the moon come together at twilight. And that's what you're creating with heart rate variability. And it's that state which leads to what yoga calls pratyahara, or interiorization. Yoga says that you have 5 sense organs: seeing, hearing, tasting, feeling, and smelling, plus 5 senses of action, which are elimination, procreation, moving, grasping, and speaking. So in pratyahara, we want to take ourselves away from all 10 of those. What does that mean? It means we should be alone in the cave of the spiritual eye, without any of the senses telling us anything, and without any memories of those 5 senses bothering us either. That means a no-mind state. So that is the culmination of pratyahara. That is the end state. That's the final state of pratyahara. And as soon as you're in that state and you use your mind to concentrate on one thing, then that is pure concentration, that is dharana. And then when you sustain that concentration for a while, that is actually proper meditation. You're in the zone and you stay in the zone for a period of time. That's dhyana. And when you do that, you begin to merge. You begin to get information. You begin to get realizations. Things come to you. Things are revealed because you are one with them. And so the secrets become revealed. The end of that state is what we call union, or samadhi. What I'd like to point out is, if you just define pratyahara as that final state, well, that final state is right on the edge of dharana, and dharana is right on the edge of dhyana, and dhyana is right on the edge of samadhi. Those processes are really close together. One happens right after another. Those processes can happen very, very quickly and can congeal into one experience, which is samyama, right? We have a name for that process all coming together. In yoga, it's called samyama. So if we just define pratyahara as the end state, pratyahara is a name, it's not that useful. It begins with sandhya, right? And it ends when everything is gone. That's the end state, right? So if we want to figure out how to get into that end state, sandhya, the wedding, is much more useful. In my own lineage, Lahiri Mashayat tells us that 12 breaths will get you into what he defines as the beginning of pratyahara. 144 of those breaths will get you into a very deep state in which you are actually in meditation and the light of the spiritual eye spontaneously comes to you, maybe a realization comes to you, and he calls that state self-realization. So you can see that that just 12 breaths is a very early state that he's talking about. It's not right before the cusp of a much deeper state, right? So he's actually defining that beginning state of the wedding as part of the process of pratyahara, right? So he says you're starting to get into it because you're balancing Ida and Pingala, and in yoga we say that is what gets you into the Sushumna, which is a different nerve. And we're going to talk in another video about what modern medical science has figured out about those 3 different nerves. And there's terminology for it. We actually can get understanding. So that's coming up. But right now, let's just talk about this. So that balancing of Ida and Pingala, that wedding between those 2, according to Lahiri Mahashaya, is the beginning of pratyahara. It's a continuum, and it can go very deep. It doesn't start out as a hugely deep state. Just 12 breaths is the beginning of that wedding, and as that wedding deepens, you will go more and more into the Sushumna. The senses will follow you into the Sushumna, and you will be in a very deep state. But the beginning is sandhya, that wedding. And that state, all of that state, is heart rate variability. Okay? This is huge. Now, we have a scientific language to talk about these states. We can experiment with the breath and grasp it and understand it, and not just say, it's going to come to you in 20 years. What's up with that? Why would you choose that when you can actually understand it and get into it? And get into it fast. Every single meditation. That sounds like a lot smarter choice, right? And that's what we want. And that's what I want for you, is that smarter choice. I want you to understand heart rate variability because I want you to have pratyahara in your back pocket every single time you sit to meditate. And no one's going to be able to tell you different because you're going to feel it. The breath changes. Your awareness of it changes. And the heart slows. And that releases energy to you. And you are going to feel it. It's incredible. It's like a smoke comes off your brain and you can suddenly think clearly for the first time in your life. That is the wedding. That is sandhya. And that is the beginning of pratyahara. Okay guys, I hope this was helpful. I love this stuff. I love this subject. I love pratyahara and I want it for you. You're gonna get it. It's easy. It's 12 breaths and you're already starting to get into it. So hit subscribe, tell all your yogi friends, and I'll see you next time.